We're the Young Indie Chroniclers podcast, and we're producing a new feature-length documentary, George Lucas, The Lost Golden Age.
George Lucas was going to do this Lawrence of Arabia scale epic on a 16-millimeter budget.
You got a chance to have the same adventure making the show as what Indy was doing.
His stuff is really quite political.
You didn't think I was going to run, did you?
I learned that when George says he wants to ultimately change or fix something, that he was going to do it.
We built a Kickstarter campaign to support the film. Late pledges are available now at Kickstarter.com.
Hello there. Welcome to Force Ghost Conversations. This podcast is your home for cozy deep dives into all things Star Wars and Lucasfilm adjacent properties. This is your host, Anthony King, and each week I will be joined by fans, creators, and believers in the principles from the galaxy far, far away to discuss the thematical elements from our favorite Lucasfilm properties. And without further ado, it is time to gather around the campfire for some Force Ghost Conversations. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Force Ghost Conversations, and it is a continuing episode of our series on The Mandalorian and Grogu. I am thrilled to have on this podcast a brand new guest on the show. Of course, is Brandon Wainerdi from Talking Bay 94 and just so many other things in the Star Wars space, and it's a pleasure to have him on the show to chat about The Mandalorian and Grogu and our thoughts. And, you know, he got to experience that kind of warehouse and the premiere over in LA. So just truly wonderful to pick his brain about this story and what it does for Star Wars and what themes we take away from this. So it's a really engaging and wonderful conversation, and I hope that you stick around for it. And before we get into that, though, do have some things to address. News and some other housekeeping items on our segment that is dubbed right now as Cloud City Gossip. So where we take a look at the news and happenings of the Lucasfilm and Star Wars galaxy over the past week here. A couple of things. So first, you may have seen already, but there's been a new trailer for Star Wars Zero Company, the turn-based video game that will be coming out later this summer, August 27th, in fact. And I've seen the trailer. It looks great. I think this will be a fun game. And I look forward to playing it. I need to get in my gaming headspace more. I've been reading so much this year that really gaming has fallen to the wayside. So I'm looking at you, Great Circle. I love the Great Circle. The game is fantastic. I just need more time in the day. I need more time, folks. And also looking at you, Outlaws. Like, I have the game and it's loaded. I just need to find more time and to finish these things so I can get to one thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. Anywho, Star Wars Zero Company coming your way at the end of the summer. So be on the lookout for that. Additionally, Rosario Dawson confirmed it, but also Star Wars announced it on Lucasfilm's, or Star Wars' website, I should say, that Ahsoka Season 2 is officially releasing in early 2027, so that's great. And then kind of sort of officially announced is the fact that the Star Wars Visions full series, The Ninth Jedi, will be getting a release this summer as well. So I'm probably looking in that July, August range at this point. But apparently one of the episodes is being screened at AnimeCon very soon here. So looking forward to that. I'm excited to see what they're going to delve into with that kind of story in that space there. So more to come, obviously, as we get more details on that front there. And then the last thing in the news space I wanted to highlight is it looks like the incredible Thrawn book from, I think, 2017-ish, somewhere in that range, that came out alongside kind of Thrawn's reintroduction to canon in Rebels. That was also rewritten by, not rewritten by, but a new take on the character, a new approach for the new canon, written by, of course, Timothy Zahn from the original Thrawn Heir to the Empire trilogy and other Thrawn associated media throughout the Legends timeline. So him returning to this, it's getting a deluxe edition. Looks like it's kind of similar to what it will be for what we got with the Revenge of the Sith novelization deluxe edition. But it looks incredible. It comes with this like really stunning slipcover The artwork is really fantastic. It's even the pages are an art piece itself. It's really hard to explain, but I hope that you get a chance to check it out. It's got like its gilded edges, satin ribbon bookmark. Um, Now, as far as I understand, it doesn't include like notes the way that like um, the Revenge of the Sith novelization does. But hey, this still is a fantastic look at this thing, and a great way to like celebrate some of these stories finally that have been in the new canon. I guess this is technically turning 10 years old next year. So it's wild to think about this, but it also makes sense too that they would do this kind of deluxe edition re-release if Thrawn will be a major factor of Ahsoka season 2, depending on when we get that. So it could be around the same time frame that is of course in the same vein of that. So this will be on bookshelves this fall, October 27th officially, so just in time for that Halloween season. So that is all the news that I had for this week compiled up, but I did want to give a shout out because folks, we do have a Patreon here at Forest Ghost Conversations. So for as little as $1 a month, you can get access to a ton of Forest Ghost Conversations related goodies. We have various tiers, of course, that with increasing value amounts, you get other goodies related to that. And again, as little as $3 a month, you can get an extra episode of Forest Ghost Conversations a month. And that's really my whatever episode kind of thing. It can be about Star Wars. It could be about something in the Lucasfilm Adjacent Galaxy, or it can be just about something that I'm really passionate about and want to talk about, or bring on a guest that's really passionate about something. So we actually have a brand new member at our highest level of Patreon membership, our Rancor level, and that is our new pal, Ted 1138. Thank you so much for your patronage, Ted. This is your official shout out on Forest Ghost Conversations, and it's a pleasure to have you in our Patreon feed. And thank you for your support. I hope you've enjoyed the extra episodes of the podcast so far, and look forward to producing some incredible work for you in the future on that front. Also, Ted, you get, after 2 months, because you're at the highest tier, a Forest Ghost Conversations t-shirt. So that is an awesome perk as well. And you also have the chance to submit questions to be read aloud on the show, and a Star Wars story of your choosing to be shared. Your own personal story could be about anything. So I look forward to working with you on that on the back end. And then, of course, we'll share it with the listeners here. And folks, if you want to get a shout out too, a personal shout out, just like Ted did here, all you have to do is subscribe to our Patreon platform for as little as $1 a month. Again, you can get access to all these Force Ghost Conversations related goodies. Links are, of course, in the episode description. Now, if you want to support the show in other ways too, we also monetarily, for example, we have a TeePublic site where you can get Forest Ghost Conversations t-shirts, hoodies, blankets, pillows, all that kind of fun stuff. So be sure to go check that out. Again, link at the episode description. We also, for a non-monetary way to engage with the show, we have our social media platforms, including X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky. Just search for Force Ghost Conversations, and we will be there in some capacity, and would love to continue the conversation with each and every one of you. So, folks, that is all the news that I had for this week. Let's get into our Mandalorian and Grogu discussion with Brandon on the other side of this very short break. So stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Force Ghost Conversations. There is a film still out in cinemas. If you might have heard it by now, it's called The Mandalorian and Grogu. It's part of the Star Wars saga, or the Star Wars franchise. It's part of the Mandalorian franchise, too. There's a lot to dissect in this film, and we are on part 3 of our however many long series episodes I want to do to talk about this, because this is a film that has a lot to mine from it. Despite what the internet will tell you, there's a lot to talk about in this thing and a lot to dissect, and we are here with a brand new guest on Forest Ghost Conversations. It's a pleasure to have him on the show. He's a podcaster. He is a writer for Star Wars, and he is a pop culture Jeopardy contestant. It is, of course, Brandon Wainerdi from Talking Bay 94. Brandon, welcome to Forest Ghost Conversations, and how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
It is an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, and I want to start our Mandalorian and Grogu conversation by not really talking about the movie, but you had the pleasure, I guess, of going out to LA to not only attend the premiere, but you somehow got access to seeing the Adelphi set and the whole like behind the scenes garage that Jon Favreau has cultivated over there. So like, what did you see over there? What happened? What was it like?
That's a great question. I still don't know.
Do you even remember? Was it a blur?
A blur, and also again, I had the craziest. Was it even just in? It was just in the month of May because I went. This sounds crazy, and thank you for having me on. But I went twice to the Favreau store. They invited me once for just kind of. It was when they did the preview. That 30 minute preview, and it was before CinemaCon, so I don't know when that was. I think it was April. And they were like, "Hey, come on out. We'll take you to IMAX headquarters, and you can watch the special preview." And I knew, kind of, like it was like a week before CinemaCon. This is probably what it's going to be, but it's that first 20 minutes or so right before they hit the light speed to go to Nalhada. And Favreau came out and talked to 20 of us at IMAX headquarters, and he was like, "You're the first to see this." And I was like, "Okay." And then we watched it, and I was like, "Okay." And then we went to that building you're describing, the secret Favreau headquarters that has both like an Adelphi base. The set is still up, and then there's a whole separate room that is just kind of like prop archives. I don't think they actually like fabricate anything there, but they did store everything there, and it is crazy. So then I was able to do that. Favreau came and talked to us again. I truly blacked out in that day because they also, again, just me and what Talking Bay is and just what I like is like behind the scenes. And they also just had various crew members who had worked on the set and on these props just around for us to ask questions to. And none of these other influencers or reviewers, none of them cared.
And you're like, this is my heaven.
Andrew L. Jones, the production designer, co-production designer with Doug Chang, all these crazy things. And so I'm just walking around these sets with the guys who built them, just like, and I have my mic in their faces, crazy day. And then they invited me back about a month later for the premiere, and they were like, "Okay, do you want to go back to the Adelphi base and the prop archives?" I'm like, "Yes, sure."
You're pulling me to get there, yeah.
And there was new stuff, which was crazy. Like they had added stuff. Well, because part of it was, and you might have seen it on the pictures for the premiere, they had put some of the stuff from the archives at the premiere. Like they had the ATRT at the premiere. I think they had the Anzellan shiv at the premiere, and so they needed space to fill in this prop archive. So they're like, "Here's a bantha now. Here is Bo-Katan's throne," and I was like, "Okay, man, we're rolling." And then that time they're like, "And here's Doug Chang and Ludwig and John Knoll," and I'm like, "Oh my god, okay, sure. I'm just gonna try to survive." And then they were like, "Okay." A small group of us then went to IMAX headquarters again and just watched the movie at 8:00 at night in Culver City, and the night before the premiere. And I'm like, "Okay, I don't know what's happening." So then it was me, and then Sky Talkers was there as well as Friday at the Force. And so we all leave that screening, and we're like, "What is going on?" Right? Like we had no context for the movie. We couldn't talk about it with anybody, right? And so it's like midnight in California, and I'm like jet lagged, and I'm like, "Oh God, okay, what do I do? How do I like process?" But then what was nice is I immediately then got to like go to that premiere, like you said, and do all these crazy things and see all these great friends, and then get to watch the movie a second time at the Chinese theater. And it was like a beautiful, like kind of awe-inspiring, like, and I was just like so on board and so long for the ride by that point that the movie really has charmed me. The flying to California twice worked. They got me. No, I would have loved this movie, I think, even if I saw it on a little like airplane screen. You know, like it was just a crazy month of Star Wars, and I'm very, very lucky. But that was a hell of a way to watch it for the first 2.5 times. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy.
I am blown away at just like the etymology of this entire story. We're not even at the point of seeing the movie yet, folks. Right. And like, well, I mean, you've seen it 2.5 times by the point we're talking about this here, on at least this particular moment in time. But the fact that you're basically in like, if Rancho Obi-Wan is like a mecca to be at, this is like the second extension of that, like of the actual film props and the things that just have been like, you know, they talk so much about what the Mandalorian is and this kind of larger Mandoverse, so to speak, that's populated around it. And, you know, whether it's a criticism or it's a way to like
glorify this stuff is like they say like, hey, it's just us playing with our toys, and you literally got to see the toys that
I
they're
got it. They
playing
didn't let me
with.
touch the toys, which
No!
because they had a section of you see it in the movie very briefly where in the arena scene Din is able to choose a bunch of different weapons from that rack. They had the rack, and I was making the joke like, oh, can I like pick up like they had like the Animaniman stick as like they had the swords and stuff from the rack, but they also just had other weapons from the movie. And I was like, can I pick stuff up? And they're like, no. And I was like, okay, all good.
Oh,
I had to try. You know,
you weren't going to risk the access for it.
I had to try. But it was again. I like how you phrased that. Right, this Mandoverse. Now that Ahsoka season 2 has moved to the UK for filming, it's kind of the end of an era in a sense for like Star Wars being filmed in the US and being filmed specifically in California. And what that meant, more than just like the actual physical sets and all this stuff, was that there became this really core group of a lot of people who worked on everything, starting with Mando season 1 and then going all the way through Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew in this movie, right? So like all these things that have kind of defined Star Wars for me over the past few years was all kind of worked on, not just by like Favreau and Filoni, but like real craftspeople who like did this for almost a decade, right? And like really entrenched in it. And so like seeing all their work together, right? It wasn't just the stuff from Mando Grogu. It was stuff from Skeleton Crew. It was like, oh, there is Neil's family in the background there. Like there is Gorian Shard. I'm like, yes, these are my favorite.
Gorian Shard alone is worth the price of admission.
Oh, you're telling me. And it was just a really kind of beautiful thing. And I, again, have been very lucky because even Celebration Anaheim, was that 2022?
Yes.
They did the Mandalorian Experience surprise.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
And that was same exact team who took all the props from their warehouse, and instead of putting it into this room for Jon Favreau and for this kind of press aspect of it, they put it inside the Anaheim Convention Center, right? And I was able to go to that twice. Again, I just like I the first when they announced it, Favreau came out and announced that, and I immediately just like beeline to that part of the. I was like, "Here we are."
Forget everything else. This is the most important thing here, guys.
I had a kind of meltdown in a sense because I didn't expect it. Right, I didn't have a plane ride to think about what I might be seeing. I had to just like go in blind, and then like there's an animatronic bantha, waving at me, right, or whatever it is,
and Grogu in the M1 Starfighter.
And my wife would be like, "You need to calm down. You need to slow down," because I was just like running and doing laps, sort of, and she's like, "Just go one by one, take it easy." And then the second time I got to go, a couple of days later, I was able to really just kind of like, "Oh, there's Max Rebo, all good. Oh, there's Pelly's wig. I'm like, all good, right?" And so again, seeing a lot of those were the same though. People listening who might have been able to go to a Mandalorian Experience in 2022 saw probably 60% of what I saw. Not in a bad way. Like it's so great that pieces of Star Wars history like that are relatively accessible, right? Like there is a way to like feel a tangible connection to Star Wars. Anyway, all to say, crazy month. And then I've seen the movie 2 more times since I took my wife. We saw it in Dolby, just at the AMC by our house. And then on Sunday, I think it was my favorite screening yet, was my 4th time seeing it. We have a museum, a Texas History Museum by our house that has my favorite IMAX screen. It's the biggest screen in the South. It's huge. It's beautiful. It's and the movie rocks. And I'm still just like, movie rocks. I love it. Right. Like I want to go see it again. Like I know we're talking. It's 7:30 right now, and I'm talking to you, and I'm like, oh. Yes, I had a podcast.
Could I get another one in tonight?
What if I saw it again? Like, what am I doing? Star Wars in a theater. I have AMC A-list, right? So technically, I can see Star Wars for free every day, right? Like, why not just go see
4 times a week?
right. You're so right. But anyway, I'm very charmed. I'm very grateful. If you cannot tell, I'm just like truly still astonished by my month. And yeah, man. What about? I'm sure you've talked about it a lot already, but how do you feel about it? How have your viewing experiences been?
Well, before we get into that, I'm curious because you have that 0.5 viewing. Are you going to try and just jump in halfway through a viewing just to fill out the other half of it to get to a round number?
It really is it's like a 0.25. I think because it's just that first 25 minutes or so. So it's like a 0.25. But yes, you're right. I should just like come in and
show up slightly late, fashionably late.
And just round it out. You're so right. Maybe when it's on Disney Plus or when I get it on 4K, I'll just kind of like start with the twins. That's like, what if I just started the movie with the twins? How does it look? How does it feel? It's again, there's an interesting conversation there, and it's the criticism, and I get it, which is like, oh, it's just like 6 episodes stitched together or whatever. I am curious. Eventually, there will be a fan edit of someone like just making 6 episodes out of it and putting it somewhere. I'll watch it.
I mean, why not? Why not?
I'll see what's going on. I'll see how it feels.
I'll watch some 15 to 20 minute clips.
Yeah, sure. Oh my gosh, that's the best thing. It's like, oh, we're just gonna watch the
Grogu's World will be its own episode. It's the penultimate episode,
thing, right? Like
that's the dream.
That's the dream. That's because again, like, it was so interesting having zero context going into that first screening. No, in a sense that like, and that's part of like, not my goal, and I don't know how successful I was. I think the eventual thread did come through, which is like, do not go into this movie expecting like Grogu to talk and like big things to happen and lightsabers and all this. Go in just expecting very low stakes,
a good romp,
hangout film with your best friends. And if I had known that the first time, I would have been like even more on board. But I remember watching that Grogu's World again, like truly no context. I'm in a room of just press. There's no reactions. Like everyone is just like kind of taking notes. And me and Sky Talkers are like, what's going on? What is happening? And so I kept calling the Grogu silent film. Cause like, there's like 6 lines in that scene for 30 minutes or whatever, whatever
if that.
I keep, you'll notice that like I exaggerate timings on the variety. It's just like I don't know what time is when I'm watching Star Wars.
It doesn't matter.
But that alone is worth the price of admission.
Agreed.
Like that is it's all so wacky and so wild, but also so much heart. The whole movie, and that distilled in that little segment with like Gattori, and it's just like you're like, man, crazy. Yeah, man. I'm excited to keep talking about it because like the more I talk about it, the more I'm just like, yes, this is my kind of Star Wars movie, really. So
I agree, and it's right up my alley too. This is I've seen it 4 times now, so we're almost on par, except for that 0.25 that you
gotta just sneak in for 25 minutes. You gotta match me.
I know. How could I just sneak in for 25 minutes though? That's the real question. How could I just only see a quarter of this movie and then not just be locked in for the rest of it? That's like the biggest tease in the planet. It's like, hey, we're going to Nal Hutta. No,
leave.
gotta cool it out here, folks. That's enough. Leave. That's all. But each time it's just become more and more entrenched of like, this is awesome. This is exactly everything I needed it to be, and then some. Right? I think the criticisms that people had for this movie existed before the film even existed. So I feel like people already had a lot of the preconceived notions that they were going to have for this before they even sat down and watched it. So they brought that baggage in with them into the theater. And for those of us that were just, hey, let's have a fun, good romp at the cinema, you got treated with a great time. And that's my ultimate thesis on this thing, is that if you really want to engage with it, there's a way to. And if you don't want to, that's also your prerogative as well. And you're going to get what you get out of it here. But I think like, as you were just talking about like this journey here of like, all right, The Mandalorian comes out in 2019, and we've seen all the various offshoot shows and just things that are kind of connected to it in this certain time frame here, and of course evidence through the Mandalorian exhibit that they had at that Celebration 22, and of course now the major museum factory basically that they have in LA, wherever it's at, hidden location, folks, with all that, and this was like a victory lap. I felt like this. The last time I saw this here last weekend, I was like, "This is a journey that we should be celebrating this. That we survived through the hard times of the pandemic, and we all the wars of the online culture, and we're still currently fighting to some degree in the world these days. That like this endured, this survived. Star Wars kept the lights on during." Arguably one of the hardest times, a couple strikes, right? It's been tumultuous for Hollywood,
right? Oh, really?
And they came out on the other end, and this should be a triumphant moment, like number 1 at the box office on Memorial Day weekend. Defeating the allegations of can the volume produce a top tier cinematic level quality thing? Like they absolutely knocked every metric out of the park that I had for this thing here, and it's sad to see people lose that kind of wonder of and embrace more cynicism in approaching this property here. But I think, like I said again, like enjoy like a sequence like Grogu's World. Like if you were to tell me in 2019 that baby Yoda thing is going to have a whole sequence in a theatrical film almost 8 years later, I'm gonna be like, what are you talking about? What? But I'm here for it. I'm seated, and I can't wait to see it again.
I know. It's gonna be. It's very honestly. It's very similar to Solo for me, where Solo has become the Star Wars movie that I just put on. It's like my vibe out Star Wars movie.
Oh yes,
and it rocks. It's just like you're just along for the ride. The characters are great. I love Alden as Han, and I love the music. And it's just like, oh man, I can just put it on and kind of like run around for a while. And this is as soon as this, I can see it every day. I'll probably be watching it pretty often. My wife has figured out if I'm in a bad, I don't know why I'm doing this. My wife has figured out that if I'm in a bad mood or like if I'm just like don't really know what to watch, or I'm like putting around, she'll just start with A New Hope, put it on Disney Plus, and it'll just like keep rolling. And I'm like, oh yeah, I feel better now. I feel better now. You know,
all
it's
is
like
right with the world.
Yeah,
things just make sense again.
this will come into play, I'm sure, same exact way.
As it should. And I like that you're comparing this here to like the Solo nature of it all, because I think that's a criticism that people have for this movie as well as that movie, is that there isn't a major galactic stakes in it. Like we know where the characters kind of end up and where they end at. And I'm like, okay, sure. But I would argue that the bigger part about Solo, and I think about this movie, is the emotional weight and stakes that come with it too, which are also equally just as important in a film like this. And you could say like, hey, Solo, Han learns to be what it's like to be a person out there and alone and jaded. And, you know, how did he become that guy in A New Hope? And we get those answers, and it is magnificently glorious and also sad at the same time. Like I appreciate more and more about Han in the later films because I have the context of Solo now. And now with The Mandalorian and Grogu, I see the journey of Din Djarin saying like, hey, I need to not only prepare this kid for a life without me, but I also need to let him take the reins on things. Like he needs to start, like he's earned his way into this here. Like he saved me. I'm not here if he's not out there gallivanting around, making friends with Gattori or trying to steal some, like the
making
world,
a hut,
making a hut. Exactly.
Making his own little, which I guess that's my wife, when I saw with her my third time, she was like, oh, it's just like Yoda's hut. And I was like, my mind, blown. My mind blown. And then I keep seeing these things and I cannot find the veracity. But someone was like, George Lucas told Filoni that the Yoda species builds the huts instinctually. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to believe that so wholeheartedly. I think that's so funny.
I'd be all for it. I mean, we're on Yaddle watch, everybody. What's Yaddle doing?
They're building nests. They're building little mud huts. So yeah, I love that too. I would they should just like make, for the next celebration, they should make a replica of that little hut, and you can just go lay in it, right? You can get a little picture of you laying in the hut, right?
Yes.
With your, and I would pay them $20, and then I would leave. So we can start that now, I think.
That would be brilliant. And I can already see all the Mandalorian cosplayers, the Mando Mercs and all of them are going to be first in line to everybody try and do the try and get their head knocked inside and all that stuff.
Or you could be on a little platform, just a little platform that'll move, like just a little, like you're a mechanic, like a mechanic little thing.
Just a little bit of head trauma goes a long way.
And again, maybe just a little of that is what some people need to like this movie. Just a slight knock on the head, and it's like, oh, stop talking about the box office. Just watch a little Star Wars.
Forget the box. You're not paid enough to figure out if it's a success or not. None
of us are paid. None of us think about that. It's like, oh, okay. The movie industry
is its whole separate thing of funds placed in accounts years ago and offshore things, and I don't even care to get into all of that. We don't even know how streaming is successful, if it is at all, like all these years later. We have no metric for determining what makes a show get a second season or not get a second season, and people throw around costs and all that stuff, and like, I don't know, I don't care. Just put something on screen, and if you choose Star Wars, I'll be watching it no matter what. Nubs Nation, unite. So I'm curious about your thoughts on some more of the emotional parts of this film here. And, I think there's something to be said about the relationship between Din and Grogu, of course. Obviously, it's their title, The Mandalorian and Grogu. But are there any other things that stand out to you as you've watched this a couple times now from like an emotional standpoint that you're like, wow, that hits me in the heart and that pulls on those strings that like really make me come back to the Star Wars that I know and love?
It's a great question. I really, again, it's like kind of the moment that I'm like, it's almost like building all the way up to it. But when Grogu kind of like nestles himself in the sleeping Mando's arm, and I'm like, and I kind of like, you're kind of like waiting for it each time I watch it now, and it really is just like, again, like that's Star Wars, man. Like a little green alien snuggling up to a chrome-plated Boba Fett, right? And
in a hut,
in a makeshift mud hut that he like spit and like made instinctually, right? It really is just kind of like a beautiful, beautiful thing. And then the other scene that I like truly is like it. As soon as I saw it the first time, I was like, "Oh my god!" And it is maybe my favorite Star Wars scene in Disney, but it's Rada and Grogu playing on the beach.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I'm just like, what are we doing? Incredible, like truly incredible. It just like kind of showed this like it you know that sometimes Star Wars tells and doesn't show, right? Just like how, but that was kind of a moment of like, we are just going to like sit on this for 10 seconds and you can kind of just think of yourself like Rada was a child on his, you know, all of these little things. And it's like, we've never seen a hut playing or like, you know, like
you've never seen them really like move in the way that they've done in this movie before.
So anyway, I was that was kind of the moment where everything started locking into place for me. And I still like, I'm very, very grateful for, again, like kind of that emotional undercurrent, not just father and son, but also just like taking care of people, the people around you, right? Having a reason to go back and rescue somebody for no reason. It's just those little things that are like very Star Wars and very heroes in Star Wars. And I think that's something that we lose sight of sometimes, or something that's like kind of gets buried by lightsaber fights or whatever it is. It's just like, no, it's just like people taking care of people.
Absolutely.
And that's how you start and that's how you go.
Well, yes, ending that, I think loyalty is a major theme of this movie, right? Like the loyalty between obviously Din and Grogu is big on that one. But at the end of the day, it's the rebellion, or the remnants of the rebellion, I guess, the New Republic that comes in that saves the day, right? And you know, and they're and to the opposite side of that, it is Embo with the twins. And they're like, help us. And he's like, I don't know. You're not paying me enough to jump in that and deal with that, deal with this monster here. Like, I'm getting out of here. So all that deceit and all that is just a part of the Empire. It's a part of this criminal underworld. It's not like they're not building relationships. They're not conducive and helping out each other. If anything, it's for because I paid you. Or even the opening scene of this is the warlord being like, hey, pay me extra tribute now and I'll protect you. And then as soon as the Mandalorian hops in, he's like, see ya, you're on your own. Right? There's no love lost there at all. And that just continues to be a recurring thing throughout there. And that stands the testament of time, right? That is the light side versus the dark side. That is how it's always been. And that's a recurring theme in Star Wars. I'm glad that continues right through the Mandalorian and Grogu. And it ultimately, like, Grogu stays with him. Like he makes that choice. It kind of is like, hey, I'm going to sacrifice myself so you guys got some time to get away from here. I know there's the logistics of also I can't fit in that beautiful little Anzellan ship there. But I'm doing what I have to do here to make sure that my son survives. But the son's also like, hey, I'm in this too. We're together here. We are a symbiotic relationship, and I'm going to help you out. It all goes back to Anakin, right? Not, there aren't enough people helping each other out there in the world, and ultimately we're seeing that in this movie here. At least on the people that succeed and win, they're helping each other out along the way.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Now, I do also want to add to that you said about Grogu, hopping in to like one last snuggle, I guess you could say, with his dad. That's what it is, right? Like, he doesn't know that the thing's going to work, and he's like milking the last every little bit moment that he has with that. And that, I feel like when people are like, this film doesn't have stakes, I'm like, tell that to Grogu. Because he doesn't know that his dad's going to make it out at the end of this here. And would love to know how Din somehow sneaked his way out without waking up Grogu.
I know, right? I read it slightly differently of like, he was so tuckered out, right? Grogu was so
I believe
tired.
it. Yes.
He just wanted to like relax. And then he was so tired that he kind of like woke up and...
We've all been there. You're like, how did you sleep through that? Yeah, I don't know either. Exactly. But that is such a powerful moment there of he's saying, all right, there's a chance I might have to let go here. And that's Star Wars too, is moving on and letting go and then being able to let go of our attachments here. And it should be a triumphant moment. And I feel like it is a triumphant moment. I pump my fists when I see the Mandalorian pop up and he has that great line, the old protect the young and the young protect the old. This is the way. And like, that's the thesis. That's it right there, folks. This is the arc, right? The movie starts with literally Din being like, don't touch the buttons. and then the end, he's like, hey, let's push the buttons together. Push that one. Let's do this. Let's go on this journey here. And this is almost like, I know people are saying like, I don't like the homework of having to watch 3 seasons to then hop in on this. So, but it does serve as this great moment of like, hey, we're relaunching the Mandalorian again. Let's see where we go in the future here with this kind of property here. So I'm all for it. But Brandon, I am curious. I know you're a behind the scenes kind of guy. And this film is a love letter to everything that Star Wars has done in its almost 50 years now, right? It's got CG, obviously, but it's got puppetry, it's got stop motion animation, it's got beautiful concept art, and I'm sure a matte painting or two here or there in this thing, if I can point it out. I'm sure it's in there. And it's just a culmination of everything, all the way up to the volume being utilized for this, and it's almost for the entirety of filming this thing here. So when you were watching this through, were you just like pointing out like, oh my gosh, is that it? Is that stop motion? How are they putting this together? Like, were you just geeking? Yeah. It's like, did you need a second viewing after the first viewing to just kind of like, all right, I can sit and relax with this thing now?
That's it. That's exactly though what you just described, even kind of as a joke, but that is just my thesis statement for Star Wars movies in general. And I've said it on other podcasts, so someone's listening to this, but you have to see a Star Wars movie twice in order to pass any sort of judgment on it, in the sense that we are so used to A New Hope. I've seen that 200, 300 times, but then all the way to Rise of Skywalker. How many times have I actually seen Rise of Skywalker? Right, like 5 to 10 maybe, and that's probably on the high end of. Actually, that's not true. For Rise of Skywalker, I've watched it probably 100 times because that's what I worked on for the encyclopedia, so I had to watch it again. But like Last Jedi, like people only watch that a couple times or once, but you have to watch it a second time to just like feel anything. To like, because the first time I was just too nervous. Like I was kind of saying, like you're like, oh, what's going to happen? And the second time you can just enjoy it and
breathe,
sit with it and just watch it like a movie. And that's when you can really kind of like enjoy the special effects and just like what's going on. I think one thing you didn't mention, there was a lot of miniature work as well.
Yes,
right?
Yes,
the Razor Crest and all those ships, and one thing that is different about this movie, because again, but I was able to leave that movie after the premiere, and everyone cares about all these people. You know who I care about? I care about John Goodson, a model maker.
Yes.
Who built the Razor Crest, right? And him and John Knoll built
and destroyed it too.
Yes, and then rebuilt it. And but what he was talking about, and what John Knoll had also mentioned, is that they built a mini volume for the first time for this movie, specifically for the motion control miniature ships.
Whoa! So a mini volume?
A mini volume. And actually, I think, based on just the general vibe I was getting from the conversation, this is obviously we haven't gotten that much behind the scenes stuff yet. I actually don't think the volume was used that much in this movie. I think that it's probably about 10% volume work, and the rest was traditional set building and blue screen. And I think that's kind of because they were very proud of these huge sets that they were building, right? Like the water feature with the White Snake. Even the swamp world. I think probably the biggest use of volume was probably both like Hutt Sanctuary Palace and Shikari, right? Because then again, like Adelphi Base was just that's just
you walked it.
They are filming that in camera. And so anyway, it is kind of a real miracle movie in a sense that like the final like one of the final like moments of this movie is like a very long drawn out stop motion fight
literally
from Phil Tippett, right? And the Djarik match is inspired by Phil Tippett designs from 50 years ago, right? And the Hutts are a Phil Tippett design. It's just like we are just living in this world that obviously I care about very much, but also is like all of my favorite types of Star Wars kind of rolled into one, and that really goes into the making of it as well. We had an ILM.com call, and I can say this because we're supposed to pass along this trivia, which is there are only 3 Star Wars movies. Is that right? Or no, maybe there's only 3 Star Wars movies that have had computer-generated effects, miniature work, and stop motion. And Mandalorian and Grogu is one of them.
One of the 3.
One of the 3. Original, too, not like, CG after the fact or anything like that.
Sure. Yeah, not counting the special editions.
Right. But A New Hope is one of them because A New Hope has computer graphic effects with the modeling for like the Death Star and stuff.
Yeah.
And then obviously and then it's killing me now. And you're like, oh, we'll edit things out. You're not going to edit this out. People will need to know that I don't remember the third one. And I'm trying to like even talk through it, what that would entail, because it has to have stop motion work. And like the sequels do not have any stop motion work. Is that true? We don't get Tippett work until... Oh, no. I think it is Force Awakens is the other one. Because it has stop motion work with the Dejaric table. It has computer-generated effects, obviously. Although, did they not build any miniatures? They might not have built any miniatures for it. Anyway, I'll follow up in the chat. I'll have to email my editor. Like, I already forgot. I bombed it on a podcast. No, it's but I just thought it was a fun thing to think about. It's like, there's all these elements of things that we consider to be Star Wars, but most Star Wars movies don't necessarily use all those elements, right? It's just kind of how you use them and when you use them. And I just think it's real special.
Well, and it shows like the trajectory of like how filmmaking has changed over the years, and Star Wars has always been at the forefront of that. And now you're having a movie that celebrates the legacy of all of it together into one. And they're like, hey, let's just throw it all into this special soup that is the Mandalorian and Grogu. Like, sign me up. I'm all here for it. There are literally sequences of this movie where there's not a human talking for like 20 minutes, like we said. There's just puppets talking to each other or just walking out through meditating and trying to steal some fish. And then like there's
then eating fish
too, right?
And
like,
then eating fish bones, gnawing at them. You really get the full fish gamut.
There's whole sequences where Lateef and Brendan are probably just like looking at who knows what puppets and stand-ins for huts and all that, and you're just like, wow. It's crazy. In like, I would have loved to have been in the meeting in like 2023-ish, right, where they're thinking through the idea of let's do a Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Like, well, however the etymology came out, they obviously had to have some meeting with Kathleen Kennedy, and they're pitching the idea, and they're like, all right, well, it's going to be the Mandalorian and it's Grogu, and they're going to run into Rada the Hutt, and they're going to be, Martin Scorsese, ends, an Ardennian, and maybe we'll get some other humans in there, maybe not, I don't know, but it's mostly going to be about the Mandalorian versus some Hutts. And Kathleen Kennedy and all her brilliant wisdom said, yes, let's do it. And I'm all here for it 3 years later. I'm like, let's more of this in the world, folks. This is the pulpy adventure that I think we've been missing in our society. We need more of this where it's just crazy. Let the imagination run wild. Like, this is an imaginatory positive film where they're like, hey, what isn't a bad idea in this movie? I don't know. There isn't one, because let's run with it and see if it works. And they did, and made it come out on the other end. That's this fun movie where there's a lot of great action sequences, great set pieces at the same time, also good emotional beats along the way too. And then you have just like, Rada the Hutt, who I never thought I'd ever see again, either mentioned or brought up in some way, shape, or form. And he's one of the emotional ties of this movie, being like, I get to be the person I am. Like, I am not beholden to what my parents did before me. I get to make the choices of my own person. And at the end of the day, now I'm here with the New Republic. What's Rada going to do?
What's Rada going to do, man?
Is Rada going to fight Thrawn? I'm all for it.
Can you imagine Rada in like a little flight jacket or something?
Yes. Yes.
But still showing off the abs, right?
Oh, if he's in like some, maybe not even a flight jacket, just some leather jacket, kind of like the Finn.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like,
something a little worn out, weathered kind of deal. Just makes it his own. It becomes the next hot thing at Galaxy's Edge. People are buying it up like no tomorrow, or even Target.
You can only buy it like in a 5XL size.
Yes,
like that's all. That
exactly.
Just on hangers. It's just a huge jacket. You're like, yes, man. Here we are.
Totally. That's exactly it. And like you have to buy a stand, like a life-size stand-in of Rada, all buff and all that. I mean, come on, Lucasfilm, if you're hearing this, please, or Disney, whoever is in charge of making the merchandise, I have some ideas. Reach out.
I hope they make like a big Black series of him, because I remember when they made the Jabba Black series, and it was big, and I'm like, oh, that's fun. They got to just do it for Rada, right? They're doing a Hot Toys, which I thought was funny. I wasn't expecting them to do a Hot Toys. I don't really buy that many action figures, but I would buy a Rada 6-inch scale, huge, buff little boy.
Well, that's something we need to celebrate again, from Stinky to Rada. To Buff Rada, like that's an interesting character arc there. Again, 20 years ago, I would have never ever like in a inkling of a thought been like, yeah, that's going to happen. But I'm color me surprised. Hey, it's going to happen, and hopefully the world it reaches out and becomes a tangible thing for all of us here. Now, like I mentioned, Brandon, there's a ton of pulpy elements in this thing. There's a lot of crazy creatures and just elements of this film that boggle the imagination. Was there anything that even you were like, hey, sign me up for this? I'm all here for any of your viewings to this point. Have you been like, that is the character that I'm like, that's it?
Well, you mentioned the Marty Scorsese character, and every time, so one of the only issues that I have with the film is script repetition. Mm-hmm. So like there will be moments where they'll be like, my own man is the joke, but then even
he says it again like 5 minutes later.
The Janu is like, consider my offer, consider that kind of thing.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
Like, I got it. Scorsese's character also is similar for me in terms of like he keeps like rejecting helping. It's just like he does it over and over again. I get it.
Yeah.
But then you go into the cart, right? The second time we see him. And you kind of find, you don't get like really backstory from him, but he talks about his little kid. But all I do is I watch the 4 arms and how they're working. And you can't see how I'm doing this if you're listening. But it is, I keep using this word charmed, but I'm like so charmed by it because there's one scene where he's just like emoting with everything. And it's like a real acting performance coming through this CG character, which is obviously, that is the goal. That is like what Jar Jar had to be to make Phantom Menace work, right? That's
right.
How computer generated creatures work, and they have for a long time. But it's so cool to see it and like feel something for this collection of pixels, right? And then what I learned recently is Misty Rosas, who also did Frog Lady and Wheel, was the performance capture for Martin Scorsese's character as well. And so
wow.
It really is kind of this like full, beautiful celebration of what Star Wars is and how you can relate again to like, you look into someone's eyes, it's like, oh, like you're just a random alien with hands for feet. But at the same time, like I really am like kind of taken by you. And so that for me is again, one of the standouts of what this movie is trying to be. And because again, sometimes I get frustrated within Star Wars where it's like, oh, here's a bunch of human pilots. I'm like, I got it. And I'm like, yes, you'll have a Rodian and a Twi'lek, and then you're like, okay, great. But I guess a lot of Star Wars for me is like relating to like the aliens or like seeing the aliens and seeing them humanized in a certain way.
Sure.
And this movie really gives you that across the gamut. And it like almost, it dares you to do so. It trusts you to do so. And I think it's like a very, people, again, are like, oh, but you have to be, I keep making the joke, you have to be pure of heart to like this movie. But at the same time, that's not that much of a joke. You do have to like be enough of like an empathetic person or like trusting person, whatever it is, to just like go along for a ride and like allow something that might seem foreign or alien to you to like speak to you in a different way. You kind of have to be like you just have to be like authentic to yourself and like empathetic and just like understand what's happening.
100%. Embrace the personification.
Yeah.
That's Star Wars, right? Why do we care about 3PO and R2? they're droids. Like, well, we should have no connection to them whatsoever, but because they have human-like qualities, we should see ourselves in them to some degree. Yeah. And that's what we do with the, the Martin Scorsese Ardenian character in this. But by the way, Misty, like, fantastic performance in this, because I assumed it was just like, someone just animated, like there wasn't even like a stand-in. They just put a tennis ball on top of a stick and just said, "Hey, try and react, Brendan," as you're looking at him. I just spent maybe 6 to 8 hours watching that Martin Scorsese documentary on Apple TV.
Really a beautiful documentary.
And also, really. Yes, incredibly done. And I feel like I know Martin so well and all of his mannerisms and expressions and just the way he conducts himself on camera, which I assume is just how he always is a very particular style. And boy, did she capture that. I'm like, did she just spend a lot of hours watching the?
Yeah, I wonder what the full. Again, we still don't have too many behind the scenes. This is not me speaking out of turn because I know nothing, right? I don't know anything about how they did Rada at this exact moment. I don't know, like, did they put dots on Jeremy Allen's white face, or was it
or did he just show up to a booth?
But then same with Marty, like, did they do any amount of facial capture, or because like what I assume Missy did was like the arms and legs and the movement there, but the face itself, like having to capture certain and maybe it's a cheat code to have those big eyebrows, and you're like, oh, I trust it. I know, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you're right. It's like, I believe that character. I believe Grogu as a character. I believe Mando as a character. I believe Rada as a character, the twins, but I also believe Sigourney Weaver as a character. Or so it's like,
absolutely.
You take everyone at face value. And that's also how just like the Star Wars universe works, right? Like, you trust a Rodian and you talk to them the same way you would talk to a human, right? Because they are also people of the same level as you, And
absolutely.
At
least if you're with the Republic versus the Empire, right? The Empire would not look at them the same way.
Sure. I meant if you're trying to identify as someone in Star Wars. But yeah, no, there's a larger, this is not for today's conversation, but there's a larger like conversation to be had of like what Star Wars and what fiction can teach you about treating others and observing others, and it's the same thing with Star Trek or anything like that. It's like, oh, like how do you see other people and like how you relate to movies, right? Some people can't play a video game if they have to be a woman, right? And it's like if they're not a woman, right?
That's right. Or like,
or if the main character of a movie is not necessarily who I identify as, right? But I do think like movies especially are like, there is some director that said this, so I'm not making this up. It's like an empathy window, right? You're 2 hours in a chair identifying with someone. You're watching someone. You're in their head, and it's an opportunity to do that. And obviously, Star Wars is. I'm not saying like Star Wars is this high art that like has to be observed in that same exact way, but at the same time, like I do think how you treat blockbusters and how you treat art films and how you treat everything in between. Is how you treat art, period, right? Like you can't pick and choose how you engage with art.
Yeah, art is art.
Art it can't be cynical or made solely for commercial purposes or anything like that, right? There has to be elements of human, but at the same time, like how you engage with art is how you engage with people and the people around you.
Totally.
And I think again, I'm not saying like, oh, if you didn't like this movie, you're not engaged with art. That's not. But it's just like, but I do think that like how I've engaged with Star Wars for 30 whatever years is that, and coupled with again like the influences and the people behind it and the work behind it, and that's why I've always loved behind the scenes, because it's like it tells us like really full tapestry kind of story of like what it takes to like tell a story in a modern age, right? And I think
exactly
Star Wars as this is now we're getting heady. We need to go back to intelligence, but Star Wars is the American myth.
Yes,
it is the thing that connects us all. Even if people have never seen Star Wars, they know Star Wars, but like intrinsically it's the one thing that we have given to the world, right? We've given, like, America has taken so much, right? And the only things we've really given is like Broadway, right?
Yeah, like the Constitution, like, baseball, and Star Wars.
Yeah, pretty much. And you can and
maybe
basketball
jazz
too, right?
Yeah,
basketball, also,
basketball.
America. But you know what I mean, though. Like, there's not many things compared to other countries and everything, like historic civilizations, all these things. Like, we have Star Wars, and that is like one of our gifts to the world. And it is almost interesting to see then like foreign markets responding even more to this movie than American markets, right? And it's like, are they less cynical? Are they less
perhaps?
Are they more empathetic? It's just, again, who knows?
They get more paid time off than we do, and they're able to enjoy
they have more time to see the theater and find some joy in their life.
Yeah.
But yes, that too, and they probably can, they don't have to worry about getting sick and so anyway, it's all crazy stuff.
Well, I love what you're saying there about the art and the way that we can empathize with art and various forms of it too, right? And if only there was, folks, a museum that's opening up later in September that is going to house places for conversations like this one, where we can talk about narrative art in its many various forms, including comics and just single images and movies and animation and whatnot. Lucas Museum of Narrative Art, folks, is the place I'm talking about. So make sure you become a member today.
Did you become a member? Did you do it?
I am a member. Yes,
I did it.
Yes.
Yeah, I did it. I didn't even ask, and you can cut. Where are you based? Where are you?
Oh, I am based in Orlando, so just outside
so
of.
You will also be flying across the country to go to a place that you are a member of.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. It's not...
Folks, it is also a tax write-off. There are.
I didn't even think about that.
There are incentives to becoming a member. It is a donation of sorts, and put your money in a good place. This is a place that will.
Well, it's funny that you say that, though, but at the same time, and again, I there was a funny tweet that was like, no such thing as ethical billionaires except for George Lucas or something, and I'm like, hey, I'll take it, because
I'll take it. That's right.
I don't, but it's so interesting because I don't disagree. But it's like, okay, again, let's people are people, humans are humans. No human is infallible, whatever, right? So like, all these things, and yes, billionaires are evil, right? Or whatever. All that to say, we don't have people with money doing this sort of thing anymore, right?
No,
like
not regular
libraries or building whatever it is. And I do think it makes me feel so much better about sitting in this room filled with all this crap that is branded Star Wars that I've spent 30 years just like kind of living it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because the man who invented it, I believe, just like who I've never met, I've shaken his hand very briefly once. I do not know this man. I don't know what happens behind closed doors, but what he has put out into the world is inherently positive, inherently beneficial, and inherently thoughtful. And I think that is something worth celebrating and also something worth trusting too. Scorsese is a great example. Like, I do trust him, or even Spielberg is doing these press tours for
sure. Yeah.
I trust him, maybe not as like a human, infallible, because like they got divorced and they, all these, like they are people, but at the same time, like their curiosity and their storytelling and how they relate to the world, I think is admirable in a place that we don't have. Like, there are no real role models in 2020. You know what I mean? And like, I'm not saying George Lucas and all these guys are role models, but at the same time, like, it is nice to be able to put money towards something that I feel is an inherent good in society, right?
Yeah.
Like this idea of, again, like
a public space that people can gather and talk about art.
Yes, and like engage with it in a way that is, because he is correct. It's like, Norman Rockefeller in comic books. It's like, no, but he is correct. That is the art that the majority of people are engaging with, and it's important to recognize it as art, right? Especially, and I really just like admire his philosophy and appreciate it and like kind of follow that philosophy. And I am truly just like overjoyed that it's happening and it's real. And I can go
and it's happening
whenever I want.
It's happening. Yeah. Two months.
It's built. It's there. Grievous is in the building.
Grievous is there. George is just hanging out. I don't think he's ever left. I think he lives there. I think him and Melody just have like they just set up a bed in there.
Hey, listen, if you told me that George Lucas had an apartment in there, I would actually never leave.
It's like his Disneyland, right? Walt had his apartment there. I bet you George has got something in those blueprints that he's
and
not
listen, we can cut this out, but I did figure out where he lives in Chicago, right? He lives in like a residential commercial apartment building, like a big penthouse.
Sure.
But it's just in the middle of downtown Chicago. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to like sit here for a couple hours. Like nothing, I'm not going to do nothing, but like I'm in town. My wife is at a wedding. I have nothing to do. I'm just going to like get a Starbucks. His wife goes to that Starbucks and she's on the board. Like, listen, it's all good. But we're just going to sit here and kind of like be in this space. But anyway, I don't know how that relates to anything.
You could be like that famous video where the guy is just walking down the street thinking he's talking about some other subject, and there's just George in the background.
I know, and I think that was in Chicago. I felt like I was living that video. Truly, not a joke. That's how it felt.
Just walking up and down the street, being like, he's got to come out sometime.
I'm like, well, there's the garage door exit. So like, if he had to leave, it would probably be through there. Do you think he goes to Chick-fil-A? I bet. How often do you think he goes to this Chick-fil-A? You know, this is how I was. This is the craziness that I was. You know, they talk about AI psychosis. This was GL psychosis. Right? This was GWL psychosis. I was just like living. I was just because the other again.
You're like, is he a Chick-fil-A
I'm saying
guy?
so much.
Does he open up on
Sundays? I feel like I'm going to email you and be like, I'm so sorry, Anthony. Could you delete?
No.
But I'm going to keep talking and then we'll see where it goes. Because I
told you we were going off the rails.
Hey, I love it. My wife, I heard the door close. My wife is not in the house, so I'm just like whatever. I went to San Francisco by myself a couple years ago, and it was just like a beautiful. I was very lucky and got to go to the original Island Studios and got to kind of be there for the Return of the Jedi 40th. But I was alone, and I had a rental car, and I kind of had the weekend. I didn't know anyone. And so I just drove to Modesto, or not Modesto, I'm sorry, to, you're going to have to cut all these umps. What am I?
Out to the ranch?
No. San Rafael. Okay.
San Rafael?
Yeah. So I just took this car and I just drove up to San Rafael, and that's like the birthplace of Star Wars, technically, right? Like that's where his house was that he wrote. And I kind of just again, lived there for a little bit. We just kind of walked around and like went and got a coffee, just kind of like existed. And then I drove up the winding path to get to his house. And I'm like, not great, everybody. You know, I mean, it's all, you cannot see anything. But it's just, again, like, I do think it's really interesting and important to like live in the places that informed these stories. Even like,
totally. Walk in the footsteps.
I was able to go to Oxford.
Yeah. Yes.
And
exactly.
And you kind of walk through and you're like, okay, like it adds this element to Tolkien and to Lewis and to these things.
Sure. Lewis
like,
Barfield and Williams.
Yeah. You're like, man. And then like the next place I want to go is Maine, where Stephen King lives. And you can kind of just like see the world that he lives in, right? And what informs him.
What restaurants were they eating at?
Right. Well, I mean, no, but truly though. And same with, like I went to Santa Fe and George R.R. Martin's community and where he lives, and you kind of just like see how these people live and operate and like how their worldview can be shaped by
absolutely
whatever. I want to go to Frank Herbert's in Washington, right? And you kind of just like see what's happening there, and then
absolutely.
Even
got that right here
moving all the way though. Oh, look, yeah, see, you get it. But then moving all the way, I look at me tying this all the way back. But then you look at Mandalorian and Grogu, and it is very much informed by the world that Favreau is living in. The LA, Manhattan Beach Studios, how it all is. And I mean, Adelphi Base is Manhattan Beach, right? That is, Adelphi Base is just the California. And even when I was in there, you do feel like you're like even more so on a Star Wars set, because it's like the temperate, it's like you were there because they built it, because it makes them feel like this is where they make their movies, right? And they have the crew members there as the pilots, right? It's like, it's not a very a hidden metaphor, right? Like it's like, oh, this is where we make the movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, even like there's a scene that I'm still trying to figure out where it is location wise, but when they break into Janu's house, which so that was initially one of the things that kind of rubbed up against. I was like, this doesn't super look Star Wars. Like the inside of that house,
castle on the hill.
Yeah, it just looks like my parents' house. Like in the inside when I was running up the hallways, I'm like, oh, they filmed this in a suburb of Dallas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then it unlocked, and I've not seen anyone post this. I don't know if this is real or not, but they were like, I think that house is supposed to be the ranch, like the main ranch house.
Ooh.
And it kind of unlocked it a little bit for me. Again, it's like they're using these worlds that are like familiar to them and like mean something to them, and like turning. And then Shikari obviously being Chicago is very interesting, right?
Sure,
just the word, and if you say it, you're like, oh, it's just anyway. It's all very interesting, and it all again places Star Wars and places this movie specifically in. I think again, like there's this conversation like, oh, it's not very much like a filmmaker's vision or whatever it is, but I think Favreau's vision is very specific. It's not necessarily my exact vision of what a holistic Star Wars is, right? It's, again, a little tied to the 70s and 80s and the toyetic aspect of Star Wars, maybe not as much, and maybe it's a little broad in terms of Hero's journey, of how he approaches Hero's journey. But at the same time, that is a valid viewpoint to have, right? That is a valid artistic thing that you can be, right? And so I think just understanding everything that goes into making a movie, Star Wars or not, I think can inform even deeper appreciation for it. And so again, a long way of saying I love that it's a California movie. It's a Star Wars California movie. Maybe not since the original Star Wars has there been something like this. Actually, no, that's a lie. Ewok movies 100% are California Star Wars movies, right? Filmed in the backyard of Skywalker Ranch.
Sure.
But yeah, I highly recommend to everyone just like go run around, go. Who cares? Like go to your favorite guy's place and just like kind of live in the world for a second. I went to San Francisco and I sat in the cafe where Coppola wrote The Godfather.
Ooh, really?
That's
the good one there.
There you are. Like here, like
basically Zoetrope headquarters.
Yeah, well, so I mean, Zoetrope headquarters is right down the street, and so then he would go. Anyway, but then
the Mel's Diner too, right?
Yes. Well, I don't know if the Mel's Diner exists anymore.
Oh man,
I don't know. I could be wrong. I had we went to Mel's. There's one right by Lucasfilm, which is so funny.
As of course,
like
it should
truly,
be
like a mile away, which is like perfect. And I think it was after like an Andor event. We all just kind of like were exhausted. We just like went to Mel's. We just sat and drank milkshakes. Like, man, this is Star. That
is the Star Wars version of going to In-N-Out after winning an Academy Award.
right. Exactly. Anyway, man, this is all. I mean, like everything. Hopefully, that has come through. It's just like there's so much to take from Star Wars, and you have to be kind of willing to accept it. You have to be willing to be like open to it for sure.
With an open heart and open mind. You can accept the bonkers and the wacky and the wild and the zany, and then at the same time be filtered into the ultimate, what is the grand lesson and theme that I'm supposed to take away from all this here, amidst all the pew, 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 fun action and adventure of it all. But then you get the heart, the I'm here a part of a community. I'm here to support my dad. Like we're in this together here, and we're defeating this great quest that we have in front of us here and overcoming these great insurmountable odds, right? They're taking on the Hutts. Like that's a big, as people are like, I don't know if there's a lot of galactic stakes here. I don't know if the Hutts are really a player in the underworld scheme after this. Like they took them out basically.
They might be gone. And I'm like,
what does that do for the underworld? Who's going to take the power vacuum?
Yeah. Cause like, maybe I don't know too much. I don't know if the Hutts are present in the sequel trilogy.
They're not.
To a great extent. Right?
I don't think they're even mentioned. So
it's like...
It would explain why they're not there.
Yeah. Hey, I love it. It's so interesting. It's so...
Like, what's Kira doing? Give me what's a Crimson Dawn update? I think she's still kicking around at this point. Like, she's got something going on. Black Sun. What other syndicate out there is willing to take advantage of?
I'm still waiting on a Gizor canon mention. We're close. I think we've gotten a mention, like a real appearance. We've gotten a mention, but not a real, moment.
Yeah. There's some fertile ground there that we can that they can explore if they really want to dive into that. And who knows? Maybe that's where they go with this beyond. Right? We kind of closed up that Mandalore arc of seasons 1, 2, and 3 of this thing. And then if we go beyond, like, what's the status of the underworld now? Like, I don't know. I would be excited to see where that goes, and if that has any further implications for what Thrawn's up to off in Dathomir, and Ahsoka's out in Purgle Land. What other things are happening out in the galaxy that people want to engage with? I don't know. I'm all for it, but and I think so eloquently put too. There, I second and yes and everything that you said there about going to the places, seeing. You have. I think Good Will Hunting actually talks about that so well too, where he's like, "Hey, you read all these books, but you've never been there. You don't know what it's like. You didn't walk their footsteps. Go and see what influenced them? How did they become the people that they became? It's because of the communities that they grew up in, right? They had to drive 30 minutes to get to the closest thing that was community for them. And they had experienced isolationism because of that. And that's why they were the way they were to some degree. Or maybe they were, school was right down the street and they had all their friends with them. That's why they are the way they are, right? It's funny also you mentioned the Oxford thing. I'll actually be doing that pilgrimage myself in 2 weeks here. So,
oh my gosh.
Oh yes, yes. That's it. We're doing a London for a week, and I was like, we're going to Oxford for a day.
Wow. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. We can either talk right now, and you just edit it all out, or we can talk after we record.
Folks, this isn't getting edited out. We're going into it.
Okay, let's just start. I am so excited for you. It is the most beautiful place in the world.
Yes.
Especially, I assume that you're a big Tolkien guy.
Yes.
Yes. And it's just you really feel it. You really feel it. So there's a few things I'll recommend, and I'll send them in an email. There's Blackwell's Bookshop.
Yes,
which
of
is
course.
like
yep.
Beautiful, and that's like where I buy all my stuff. Anyway, it's nice to go.
You have to. You have to get it there.
But then I'll just send you. I have a list of like little corners that like Tolkien like drew pictures of, like things that are like crazy, like not even like. But
we're definitely doing like the walking tour too, where people are like, this could be where like the idea of like the fellowship table is and all that stuff, and of course where he tried to convert Lewis to Christianity.
Okay, you do the Addison walk. That's
yeah.
Are they taking you to the graves?
So we are not going to the graves. So I've planned the entire walking tour for us. So we're not doing it with anybody else hopping on board. Where I am
it's just you. Oh, okay,
just me and my wife. We're rolling through this. Yeah, unfortunately, just too little far out from where we're planning to be. Unfortunately, because if we had like more like a car or something like that, maybe we'd hop up to hop on a bus, go there, and go out to the kilns to see the home.
So here's the thing, though, and I took an Uber there to the grave, at least Tolkien's, and it wasn't that far. It was, if you're going to Eagle and Child to walk by, are you going to the pubs at all?
We're walking by because it's not open right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not open, but the one across the street is also an Inkling pub.
Yes, it's the Lamb and Flag. Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head, but yes, we do have lunch there.
But if you are, that is actually kind of close, I believe, to Tolkien's grave. I could be making that up in my... Am I making that up? Or it's also close to...
I thought it was close to their home, so that's why I was...
Oh, and then also close to the home. I was going to say where he wrote Lord of the Rings is the house. The other... and then the Lewis Church is really good, and that's his grave, you know? But again, I don't want to belabor the point.
Oh, man. That would have been so
that's
cool
what I was saying. Like, where he like thought about Screw Tape Letters. He was like, he's sitting in his little pew and...
That's Oxford trip number 2 is heading out to the ancillary areas.
Oh, man. I am so excited for you. We went to the grave. It was raining. Had a little
of course
umbrella.
My
wife was so sweet, and we bought flowers before at like the grocery store by our hotel, you know.
Sure.
And then we laid flowers on the graves, and it was just like a really beautiful day. I was like very appreciative of just like having that experience in Oxford and just getting to walk these streets. I'll have to I have a couple books to recommend to you.
Please.
That were like fun to read. It was like,
I've already read like 4 in the lead up, so I wonder if they've been overlapped.
There's a little one of the scholars that I love. He wrote like just, it's called Tolkien at Exeter, and it's just about him.
Okay.
When he was in school. Even before, and it was really interesting. And so there's a lot of drawings in there of him as a kid looking out a window, and then you just kind of go see that same exact view, and it's just like really, again, like very powerful to kind of just like be in this place that is like very
absolutely
for so many. Oh man,
I dare ask, are you part of the Tolkien Society?
I am, in a sense that like I pay for it,
you
know, and I
don't go to the moots.
I get the magazine. Well, I've been to one moot because I listened to the Prancing Pony podcast. I don't know if you know that one. And that's kind of how because I grew up reading. I read Lord of the Rings every year. I read that Christopher Lee read them every year.
Yeah.
So ever since I was 12, I read them every year around Christmas. And then I would, I had read Silmarillion and Hobbit, and then but then I really have been like, let me just really kind of like do it all. And I'll never be as with Star Wars. I feel very confident with everything. With Lord of the Rings, with Tolkien, I feel no confidence.
It's tough.
But I went to a moot that the PvP put on in Wisconsin. Where's Marquette?
Yes.
Wisconsin?
Yes. Wisconsin. Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's there.
I went to Marquette, which is where Tolkien's
He's got the archives
are. They're at Oxford, they're at the Bodleian, and then they're at Marquette. And they were doing an exhibit of Tolkien's
Milwaukee
artifacts. Say it again.
Milwaukee. Yep. So Wisconsin.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There's a place. But then the moot did a bunch of speakers came, and I kind of was just, and I went by myself, and I brought a little notebook, and I just kind of again lived in this world and was able to just and see
part of it.
And there are all these beautiful drawings and paintings of Tolkien's. And that was again I'm looking at. This is from a Oxford exhibit actually from years ago that I'm out the poster up, but it's the Hobbit image of the barrels in the water. That Tolkien drew, the blue and the green. That was anyway, but they had that. I'm just kind of standing in front of it. You're just oh man, but then there's a piece of paper as part of the manuscript for Return of the King that I'd always heard about, which is he's writing. What scene is it? After the final battle. And a teardrop. He's crying while he's writing it, and he had talked about how emotionally it affected him writing that. And then they had the piece of paper there
stained with a teardrop.
And I was like, what's going on, man? It was crazy. Anyway, the Lord of the Rings, I can talk Lord of the Rings forever. But again, I try so hard, but I'm so shallow compared to all these incredible scholars who I'm sure you've been reading too. The people I'm just man, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, and I will say one of our close friends is a Tolkien PhD scholar. She's literally getting her PhD right now in Tolkien studies. And
is it at Sigmund? Where's she going? Do you know?
Somewhere in the UK. It's a
so cool.
I'd have to ask her what where exactly. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, she's working on it. So yeah, she goes over regularly and also does all the moots and all that. So I'm there's a whole other Tolkien world that I didn't even know about. And I'm I guess if Star Wars does this, obviously there must be a Tolkien version of this, and sure enough there is. There's something for everybody out there, folks. There's a community if you want to find it for anything. Well, bringing it back to Star Wars, folks, I hope you enjoyed our little Lord of the Rings conversations there.
Yeah, you can just release that as a bonus.
That's a whole talk right there. Is there anything in this film that maybe challenged you in any of the viewings that you had, and how have you processed them or worked your way through them, or are they still challenging you and you're I need to go watch my 75% of the film to really focus on those key details there and process my way out of them?
Like I mentioned, I had rubbed initially against Grogu's world. I was just what's happening? I was oh, okay. And I couldn't settle. And now it's the only part that I want to watch. This is
a 180.
Let me think. And then I mentioned I just have small, tiny script gripes. I'm just it was a little too reiterated for me, and I wish that they would trust the audience a little bit more, because I think they asked the audience to trust so much in this movie, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And they didn't for a tiny bit more. One thing that I want to talk about in a good way. Again, very jarring the first time, but Favreau is a movie director, and he is doing interesting camera moves. He's doing very filmic things in this movie, right?
Yeah.
Even the opening credits being kind of very jarring initially, right? You're oh, okay. But then even how the credits end, right? Which is Grogu walking into the door of a Delphi base, and it says directed by Jon Favreau, right? And then it closes, and then the movie starts, right? That is a movie specific kind of pastiche, right?
Yep, that's right.
But he continues to do that, right? There's a lot of POV shots in the movie.
And tracking too.
Yeah. The Embo running at the house shot,
in infrared.
And you see POV from Anzelans, I think, when they're looking at Nal Hutta palette. It's just very interesting, stylistic flourishes that, again, initially I was oh, okay. It was kind of a good example is when I saw Last Jedi, and there were new kind of like things in it that didn't necessarily feel like Star Wars. Some of the ways that he edited that movie.
Yeah.
So the first time I saw that movie, it was like very jarring for me. Some of the things I remember there is like when Kylo is about to shoot Leia, and it kind of like fades weird between them.
Yeah.
And I was like, again, this is all very like animal, right? It was jarred. This is not the Star Wars that I was used to. And then similarly with the Force touch scenes and how those were working, I think I also was like, oh, that's not very Star Warsy. Similar to like flashback in Force Awakens. That was the first time there was a flashback.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, you know? And similarly in Mandalorian Grogu, you have to be like, okay, like this is this. It's its own thing. Or even like zoom in shots. I think of the when Rada gets handcuffed. And it's like almost like Cops, like in the TV show Cops. It's like it zooms in kind of fast, you know?
Totally.
And like that's weird, man. You know, it's like Battlestar Galactica. You're like, whoa, it's like what's happening in Star Wars? And so all these things kind of add up to being a very unique movie. It's a movie. He made it as a movie, and I think it's so interesting. And again, talks to his influences, what he kind of likes. And you think about him as a big blockbuster filmmaker. You think about him as an Iron Man, as a crowd pleaser guy. And I think that he is just kind of building a 4-quadrant movie the way that he knows how. And I think that's really interesting, you know?
Well, that's his auteur style. Right.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that's like, he's not
general sense of it as it's almost weird to call.
Yeah. Everyone's an auteur,
but it is. But like auteur theory is that you can see a director's influence in the movie, right? That's the whole, that is. So like by definition, you could argue
for sure
that, like, that is a Jon Favreau movie for good or for ill or for whatever.
Either way, right? I mean, you can make an argument, I guess, and some might say like, hey, it's the Star Wars sandbox. Stay within the limitations of that, and I applaud him. I would say to some degree by saying like, no, I'm making a Mandalorian and Grogu movie. I'm not making Star Wars Episode 10. Right? I'm not beholden to. I need to put a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I'll put the crawl I want to put here. I'll use the music I want to put.
Cast and crew at the beginning of the movie.
I'll put the credits.
Yeah.
You know, George got in trouble for that. I'm not getting in trouble for
George
it.
fought against this. But it's okay. It's fine. Let's not think about that too much so I don't freak out. It's
totally.
Okay.
And I think that's going to be maybe a help for folks at home that are struggling with this. That might be a helpful framing for how to put it through a prism of, this is the first Mandalorian and Grogu movie. This isn't Star Wars Episode 6.5. You know, this isn't the direct sequel to Return of the Jedi. This is a movie add-on to the Mandalorian series, right? And we may go back to season 4. We might just do another movie after this. I don't know where this is all going. I'm sure conversations are being had or have already been taking place that will lead them into the future of where this franchise goes. And they set forth some new parameters for what the Mandalorian is in the cinema. Yeah. And I'm all for it. Yeah. Take the risks. Be bold. Dare to be cute, you know?
Dare to be cute. You know what we're saying? Dare to be cute.
Speaking of dare to be cute, I want to conclude our conversation with, are there any like the cuter aspect, like, because there's a ton of them in this movie. Are there any like, you know, top 2 or 3 highlights of cute moments in this movie that you're like, that warms my heart?
Yeah, I think the biggest, I remember, again, watching that preview, I was kind of nervous. I love The Mandalorian. It is not, I don't like collect Mandalorian stuff. You know, I'm not like, it's not like my thing. Although
you're not 3D printing a costume?
I truly say that though. And then like, I'm looking at like 2 separate different Mandalorian Lego sets. Like, of just like, I've just
contradicting yourself as you're
exactly. But at the same time, like I went into this movie being like, this is not necessarily the movie that I would have clamored for. Right? It wasn't the movie that I was like, I have to have this. And so that first 25 minutes, I was like, do I need this? Like, is this really going to be for me? Who knows? Season 3 wasn't necessarily for me. And so if it's going to be more of a season 3, then I might not gel. I went into that preview and that's very cutesy in a few respects, right? But I still remember the Grogu tapping Mandalorian's helmet. I hadn't seen that, and I saw that live, and I was like, again, charmed is that word, right? I was charmed. And then when he gets into the ship and he like sneezes the snow.
Yes.
And again, charmed. I like audibly like reacted.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't seen it 100 times in a trailer yet. You know, it was just like present in that moment. I was like, here we are, right? And then even him like scurrying around was like, I was like, again, being charmed. And I'm trying to think what else was in that preview. And it was just over and over again. I was like, oh, okay, like this is going to be actually kind of different than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that as we move all the way to what the final product is and how I've like sat with this movie now, it is the exact movie that I'm glad they made, in the sense that like everything that this movie kind of does, all of its eccentricities and oddities, is the kind of Star Wars that I like and that I do collect, right? That all of my aliens are over here, right? My Return of the Jedi creatures, right? My battle droids, all it's like, oh, the Babu Frick's like, oh, like this is actually all I like I like everything about Star Wars, obviously, but this is like the stuff that like really
Regal Robots just waiting to get those maquettes out for this.
Right, yeah. Oh, you got Phil Tippett to do a 10-minute whatever. I'm like, okay, sorry. It is my favorite Star Wars podcast is Blast Points, and that's very on record. And that's how I got into Star Wars podcasts, and that's why. And the reason I gravitate so much towards them is when I was listening to them after I saw The Last Jedi in 2018, I was listening to them, and it sounded like me. It sounded like how I think and like Star Wars. The weird stuff, the fun stuff, the goofy stuff, the stuff with an immense heart, less crazy lightsaber fight choreography, power scale.
More father years.
But I still love that stuff, right? That's still like, again, like expanded universe. I am all in on the expanded universe, right? But it's like, the reason I love that stuff is not because it's like badass. It's not because that it's hardcore, but because it like shows an innovation, it shows an excitement, it shows again the things I like about Star Wars, and this movie also does that in such a specific way that it's kind of a miracle. Like it's kind of a weird miracle that this is the movie that we got,
really,
and not like a bunch of lore, crazy Mandalorian stuff that like
he wasn't fighting
cameos.
Thrawn with the Darksaber,
right? It was just like, and part of me is interesting because this when I saw the movie for the first time, I was like, I could predict some of the reaction, which is actually a lot less. It's a lot less than I expected from especially Star Wars. I think Star Wars fans liked this movie. Star Wars fans were like, got it. Maybe it's not the movie that I wanted, but I did enjoy this movie. I think it has been, at least what I've seen from the real people that care about Star Wars, that aren't just like LARPing around, right? People just like Star Wars.
Trying to put up a headline that's clickbaity.
They might not have loved this movie, but they definitely were like, got it. Let's move. We got it. But I wonder if the marketing had just been the first 20 minutes and we hadn't seen Embo, we hadn't seen the twins, we hadn't seen Rada. We hadn't seen the droids and this, like all those things are Easter eggs. All those things are like on their own, right? If it was a week-to-week episode, it's like, oh, Rada's in this episode. That's crazy,
Yeah.
But because we were just like, oh, like that's what the movie is, we were almost conditioned for like a full year or two to be like, okay, nothing special. Let's, like that's, if it had been just like slow played or Easter egged, there was nothing for people to like talk about. There was nothing for people on YouTube to say, here are the things.
Here are the 15 things you missed in the
right. And here, but again, those are incredible things. And I truly love those things. And there are things, right? Star Wars Explained did the video, and it's a sick video. It rocks.
That's right.
But I think more casual fans might have been expecting even more from it. And we didn't get any. There was nothing, right? There was nothing that was like lore shattering or fun, whatever. It's just like, nope, what you get is what you get. And I think that's really interesting and really special. And again, it's like, oh, it can live forever. It can just kind of live as its own thing and not be tied to, again, like season 3 of Mandalorian. I think there's an element to it for me that's like, it's so tied to a bunch of other stuff that it kind of almost feels less special. But this reminds me more of like season 1, where it was just its own thing,
episode of the week kind of deal.
And but also like tied together, and the things that happened in those initial episodes came back, and all, here you are.
Yeah.
but it was this story of, again, weird. How many aliens do we have in that show? And just talking to each other. And again, that's where I think I fell in love with The Mandalorian, and it kind of evolved into other type of shows, which I also really liked. And I think if it had just stopped at season 2, I'd feel a different way as well. But I think being reminded of what I love about Star Wars, about Mando, and about what we can do has really made this whole episode of The Mandalorian very special.
I agree. I mean, there's whole sequences like where there's also plays on the physical comedy, I would say, that I'm like, wow, all right, let's do this here, where it's just like, Favreau will just do a shot where it's the Anzellans and Grogu barely fitting into the little ship that they have. And it just lingers there for like 15 seconds. I'm like, this is cinema. This is it right here, folks. You paid the price of admission for this.
The head bonk.
The head bonk.
I've seen it with 3 different audiences now.
Everyone laughed.
And they laugh.
They made me
the
laugh too.
And like it goes on like one too long. In my editing opinion, it goes on one too long. But the people are still laughing.
Well, for the 6-year-old that was cracking up in front of me.
And I'm like, man, that's movies, baby. Like, who cares? Who cares?
4 quadrants, something for everybody, right?
I know.
It's only missing a little bit of romance, but
No, right? Well, maybe for the sequel.
For the sequel. for the Mandalorian and Grogu too.
Omara will come back.
That's right. Or hot Rada's on the prowl. Who knows?
You're thinking the big thoughts, Anthony.
I'm thinking. Who haven't we seen yet that Rada could be
in love with?
Play the fun, like we've seen in this show. Frog people have find love. There's the Quarren, right? That in season 3 that were fighting for each other. So who knows? There's a lot to explore.
You inspired me. Rada's type is probably just like a Sice Noodles, the alien, because maybe that's what Hutt's, just like. So maybe that. Can you imagine? And imagine if that was also Sice Noodle alien, but like a rod puppet.
Yes.
Yes. Can you imagine if we could do this? If I'm thinking big thoughts for season 4, or it's like Rod of the Hutt CG special edition Jabba looking guy, right? And then you have rod puppet. Maybe it's like a green Sice Noodles or something, but just a little puppet walking next to it. Maybe she has those. Maybe her lips are like purple and not red, right? And then maybe they're kissing. And
they play a song similar to Jedi Rocks, like everything resurfaces.
Max Rebo's alive.
Max Rebo. Yep. We find him. We find him again.
I hope Jon Favreau is listening. Man,
this movie is writing itself.
I was cooking. Let me say that. I was cooking.
$1 billion at the box office. Cultural sensation.
That's the one thing it was missing. They were missing Sice Noodles.
I'll take one less Amon and bring in Sice Noodles. We'll call it a day.
Yeah.
Where's the special edition?
Yeah. They mentioned a Yuzum, right? They mentioned a Joe Yowza. We got that. I was waiting. I wanted to see a Joe Yowza, but
I was looking around. I was like, is anybody Splinter of the Mind's Eye reference?
Well, and I mean, we've gotten wasn't there a Splinter of the Mind's Eye reference in Solo? No, that was Lando series. Got a few mentions in.
Yes, yeah, Solo. The Calrissian adventures.
Actually, there was a Splinter of the Mind's Eye reference this year in Star Wars.
In Star Wars?
And it's official. It was announced. It was shown. Someone said it. And it was in Maul. Okay. And the scene where you see Vader for the first time in the fog.
Yes, it's
apparently, I think it's a StarWars.com article, and they put it side by side.
It's the McQuarrie concept art.
It was inspired by the cover. And I'm like, that's great. Oh, I'll take it.
50 years on, folks. There's always something.
I'm even like I like that you said that because like we see Zeb. And right. Zeb was
the original Chewbacca
51 years ago, right, or whatever. And it's like, here he is now in a movie, right? That McQuarrie little design is now in a movie.
Well, and you know the camera movements of the opening sequence with the AT-ATs, right?
Was also McQuarrie.
Is also inspired by
I think Dave posted that.
Yeah,
there was something. There's little things, man. It's really just kind of very special and very, very cool. And that's why Star Wars has these layers, similar to how Tolkien has these layers, right? Like, It's that's why these two bookshelves are this is comics. I don't know if you can see it. This doesn't matter. You can.
I was like, I can see the Young Indie
that's comics
cards
right?
over there.
Two Star Wars, but then here's Tolkien. This whole my God, sorry.
Oh, beautiful. Look at those histories of Middle Earth.
I know. So it's all. Then here's that poster I was talking about. That I'm so bad at this.
Oh, amazing.
That Hobbit poster, and those all are my alien friends over there in that corner.
Look at that.
We're just living the life.
This is a museum, folks.
This is please pay the membership fees. But then I could do it, and anytime anyone would want to come, this is the place. I'm gonna get crushed by this one day, but it's okay.
One more book is like it's all it can handle.
Oh man, truly, I fit. I got the final issue of Insider, a cover of it today, and I like squeezed it in, and I was like, "There's no more can fit on this shelf. This was it.
Time for another shelf."
Another shelf.
A bigger space.
somewhere.
Room to grow, of course. Well, Brandon, this has been an incredible look at The Mandalorian and Grogu. Thank you so much for coming on the show to share your thoughts and your experiences and journey with this movie over 4.25 viewings to date. Maybe some more in the future.
Yeah, maybe by this episode air, I wonder if I knock in a couple more.
Get in a couple more, absolutely. And it's go see it, folks. Mandalorian and Grogu is out now. But Brandon, where can the folks find you if they want to continue the conversation or learn about all the cool stuff you've got in your office?
Well, I host a podcast called Talking Bay 94, where I interview cast and crew of Star Wars. So you can find me anywhere you find anything. And I'm Twitter and Instagram, especially. And then at Actually Brandon is where you can follow my personal stuff. I write for StarWars.com and the recently final Star Wars Insider,
Rest in peace.
Star Wars books, crazy stuff that has happened since The Mandalorian started in my life that I'm very grateful for. And a lot of cool stuff coming. I really had such a nice time talking to you. So thank you for the invitation, Anthony. I really appreciate
absolutely. It's been quite a pleasure having you on. And folks, thank you very much for listening to this episode. Well, guess what? We're still got more things to say about The Mandalorian and Grogu. So we'll be back next week with part 4 of our however long I want to make this conversation series about The Mandalorian and Grogu. And until then, may the Force be with you. Take care.
it.